Morning world, it's 9 a.m. in the morning on the 28th of February 2019. It's the last day of February. The new sun sign videos will be up within 12 hours and hopefully you're going to see something rather interesting on my website within 24 to 48 hours. Comments welcome. So here's looking at the horoscope of Michael Cohen and Donald Trump and the marriage made from hell, as far as the astrology of this goes. Now, I have no accurate time of birth for Michael Cohen. If anybody out there has one, please let me have it and your source. But I know that Michael Cohen was born in New York area on the 25th of August 1966. So here's a little bit of astrological detective work. This is all my own work. This is just my own assumptions. I have no proof of this. It's my own guesswork based on my own 40 years plus of astrological knowledge. On the 25th of August 1966 at 7:35 in the morning, approximately 5 minutes plus minus, the moon changed sign. So if Cohen was born before 7:35 in the morning, he's born with the moon in Sagittarius, same as Donald Trump, same as myself for that matter. If he's born after 7:35 in the morning, he's got the moon in Capricorn. Now, I look at him. One of the things Trump has is he has this kind of, in Britain we call it the cheeky chappy. He can always come up with a big grin, and it's not just the Leo rising, it's the moon in Sagittarius. Cohen doesn't have that. Cohen has a more sallow expression. It looks as if he doesn't laugh a lot. Capricorn moon people don't laugh a lot. They're very good when it comes to structure, boundary, discipline, hard work, and on the surface, loyalty. So I'm presuming that Michael Cohen has the moon in Capricorn. So straight away, if that's the case, it points to a birth time after 7:35 a.m. in the morning. But hang on, that's not all. On that morning, Mars also changed sign. So if Michael Cohen was born before 11:52 a.m. that morning, New York time, Mars is in Cancer. And if he's born after 11:52 a.m., Mars is in Leo. Now, when I look at him, I look at his bearing, I look at the way he stands, his posture. I particularly look at his hairstyle. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not a guy who's afraid to put himself out there. This is definitely Mars in Leo material. Again, I stress this is my own ideas, my own work. So I'm assuming that Michael Cohen has Mars in Leo, suggesting that he's born after 11:52 a.m. local time. Now, the main feature of Michael Cohen's chart, yes, he has sunshine moon. Okay, nice enough. But the main feature in his chart is the square from Mercury to Neptune. Now, whenever I see the square from Mercury to Neptune, particularly in fixed signs, in his chart he has Mercury in Leo square Neptune in Scorpio. It's always common in charts of people who at times in their lives see the world as being the way they want it to be rather than dealing with it the way it really is. It can give a very good fantasy and imagination, which is why it's common in the charts of fiction writers, storytellers, movie makers, dramatists, screenplay writers, photographers, people who have a somewhat different view of the world compared to the norm. Michael Cohen has Mercury square Neptune in his chart. He's been accused of lying. He probably did. He probably is. Whether he's still lying in his testimony to Congress or not is a moot point. He does have the sunshine moon in his chart, and that does normally create quite a solid character. But with Mercury square Neptune, you can never tell what the reality is. The fact that Uranus in the sky is now coming up to trine his sun for the third and final time is significant, suggesting that over the next couple of months there may be further developments in his particular case, which suggests that he might actually get away with some of the things he's been charged of and get a lesser sentence. It's also worthy of note that the total eclipse of the moon around January the 21st was right on top of his Mars at 0 degrees of Leo. So yes, the guy's a bit of a fantasist. And much as I wish I was seeing stuff that says, yes, he's an honest guy, I don't think he is. I don't think he's dishonest. I don't think he's a manipulator, a conniver, a cheat. I think he lives in a kind of world of his own making. Whether that affects his testimony to Congress at this time is another matter. But then that brings us to Donald Trump's chart. Now, I've spoken at length about Donald Trump's chart a number of times, and I know a number of you consider me to be really anti-Trump. I'm doing my best to be astrologically objective here. As we all know, and it's a commonly accepted fact, Donald Trump was born on the 14th of June 1946 at 10:54 a.m. local time in Queens in New York. Now, what's really interesting at this time is that Jupiter in the sky. Trump was born, incidentally, about 2 to 3 hours before a total eclipse of the moon, which I just find a little bit interesting. He was born on full moon. Jupiter in the sky passed on top of opposite Trump's North Node about 2 weeks ago. Jupiter in the sky passed opposite Donald Trump's moon, passed on Donald Trump's moon just a few days ago, and Jupiter in the sky will pass opposite Donald Trump's sun in about 10 days' time. These transits will then be repeated around September, October time. Jupiter on someone's moon and opposite someone's sun really amplifies, exaggerates, and overemphasizes features in their chart. And what this does show to me, with the debacle of the failure of Trump's talks in North Korea, or should I say the failure of Kim Jong-il and Donald Trump's talks around the North Korean issue, and with the hype and spin surrounding Donald Trump as being perpetuated by Michael Cohen in Congress at this time, it's classic Jupiter on his moon and opposite his sun, amplifying, exaggerating, overemphasizing everything concerning him. But it does make it clear to me that Donald Trump is not working with an astrologer. Or if he is, that astrologer's lousy, or that Donald Trump's ignoring that astrologer. Because any astrologer worth their salt would have said to him at this time, situations are going to get out of proportion, larger than life, out of control. You could end up biting off more than you could chew, and things could become very, very exaggerated. The synastry between Donald Trump's chart and that of Michael Cohen, even without Michael Cohen's birth time, is pretty interesting. Donald Trump's moon is square both Cohen's Pluto and Cohen's Chiron. That in itself is fascinating. Trump's sun and moon are both square Cohen's Uranus. And with Cohen's Uranus and Pluto hitting Trump's personal planets very strongly, straight away there is an element of undercurrent. Not necessarily of coercive or manipulative or subversive, but certainly undercurrent. And the fact that Cohen kept documents like photocopies of checks, for example, doesn't surprise me with this. There's plenty of positives here between the two of them. There's a good humour. Trump's Jupiter is sextile Cohen's Mercury. Trump's Uranus is sextile Cohen's Mercury. So I'm sure they get on, or they got on. But there's also some fundamental challenges here as well, particularly towards Cohen's Pluto and Cohen's Uranus from Trump's moon and from Trump's sun. So this is a marriage made in hell, and there is fundamental trust issues. And even at the start of this relationship, I would have said, look, it's not going to work because there's undercurrents here that are never going to be openly expressed, and there's always going to be trust issues on both sides. So basically, my summary of this at the moment is that Trump's in a mess, and I'm sure, especially with Mars just about to move into his 10th house, that he's going to skate over this and he'll come out of this smiling. Yes, Saturn is squaring his Jupiter, but Jupiter's about to oppose his Sun on March the 11th, and on March the 12th, the North Node in the sky will land on top of his Saturn. Next year, Pluto will oppose his Saturn. And Saturn in Donald Trump's house rules his 6th house. health. I suggest, I've always said that Trump won't see a full term out. I think his health is beginning to look a bit weird. He certainly looks a lot thinner. And didn't Kim Jong-il look very pasty? They both didn't look like they normally do. Anyway, I suspect that Trump will ride over these current short-term difficulties, but once Jupiter comes back in late September, early mid-October, that's when the reckoning will be. As for Cohen, with that Mercury square Neptune, and if I'm guessing here that he's born around 10 to 1 in the afternoon, putting Neptune pretty close to the ascendant and the Sun on the midheaven, is my guess. He's just living in a kind of cloud nine world. Unfortunately, he's not someone that I would rely on the authenticity and the accuracy of every statement. I would want to see documented proof before I believed everything that came out of his mouth. That's my astrological assessment. Hope this is helpful. Catch you later, world. Bye.